Okay, let's do this.
All right, we are live. We are live. Okay, hey everybody, it's none other than your favorite Auntie Jai. I want to remind you that you have to know yourself, to love your people. Also, Black love, Black pride, Black power. Also, don't get mad, do better. And today we are going to be talking about a very sensitive subject, but you guys know me, I'm always talking about the difficult things to talk about. I have two guests with me here today. One is a really good friend of mine, a big sister to me. Sis Atieno, you want to take a minute or so to introduce yourself?
Peace. My name is Atieno, and I'm friends with Sis and Jai. Move on. You know I'm not
Okay.
good at this.
All right. Brother Khalid, you want to, Brother Khalid is a really good friend of mine as well, a solid big brother to me. You want to take a moment to introduce yourself?
Peace, peace, brother Khaled. I'm the illustrator of Sankofa Super Heroes, the children's book. Um, I'm the author of Nairobi's Idol. I believe in black power. I'm a black nationalist. I believe in African sovereignty. You know, that we should have control over everything, you know, our whole perspective on this planet, um, our survival. So yeah, I'm just here for the conversation.
Yeah, and thanks for making me
Yeah,
look
we all
weak.
here for
But go
Black
on.
Love Only out here as well. This is Team Black Love Only.
Hey, you can't
So,
have black power if you don't got a black power couple.
anyways, what we are going to be doing, you guys, is talking about sexual assault in the Black community. Many of us either have been victims or know victims of sexual assault. In this particular case, we're going to be focusing on Black women and our effects of being victims of rape and sexual assault. Now, we do, and I want to give a full disclaimer to acknowledge the fact that we understand that these behavioral things that are going on in our community are dysfunctions, are symptoms of learned behavior via white supremacy from colonization and slavery, including rape and the mentality of rape, and even is through the lens of our colonizers. Make sure that that is understood and that is clear, that we understand that that is the core basin why we have these issues. But what we're going to do is both focus specifically on the effects that white supremacy and our mental and psychological and environmental colonization has had on us as a people interacting with each other as Black men and women. So it's a but many brothers have committed rape against a sister and or sexual assault and are either unaware or in their head it doesn't count technically as rape. So what we're going to do in this discussion is we're going to clarify what rape actually is. We're going to talk about the effects it has on us as a people. We're going to bring up solutions on how to potentially heal from being a rape victim. We're going to give tips on how to make sure that you as a brother are not a sister, and a couple of other little things in here and there as well. So what we're gonna do is I have this little itinerary planned out, and we're just gonna go through it, get this conversation out there, um, and get our lives, shit, get ourselves together. It's hot, y'all, and I'm in this car, and I got beads of sweat and shit, but we're gonna get it together, okay?
Okay.
Right.
So, first things first. Colin, we're going to ask you first. What comes to mind when you hear rape or sexual assault?
You talking to me, right?
Yeah.
Um, what comes to my mind when I hear rape or sexual assault is usually it's basically what comes to my mind is like a forced action, like something that was brutal, something that you know, a woman like kind of like screaming and kicking and fighting, and a guy on top of her trying to basically rape her, or in a violent way. That's what comes to mind. To answer the question, that's one of the things that comes to mind. You know, a brutal act of force, of sexual force.
All right. Atiana, what comes to mind when you hear rape or sexual assault?
Well, for me with rape, the same thing that he said is more of a forceful act, like taking somebody by force or by some weapon, like well, could be a stranger, could be somebody but basically, force. But for me, for the assault part, the sexual assault is more of like a power dynamic where, somebody can't say no, like you're working for somebody or you're under somebody's, tutelage. So, you don't want to, but you can't say no. So that's for me is what I think.
All right.
Yeah, that
And
that hey, you
before,
know what? That sounds about like my understanding as well.
um, before go into defining what rape is, you ever, if you don't mind sharing, have you ever been a victim of rape or sexual assault?
No, no, I haven't.
What about
You
you,
know what?
Khalid?
Well, it depends though. When I start trying to define rape and sexual assault, I think
You
about
have a little echo there.
I've been locked up, so I've been in prison. So when you get inducted into that system and they start searching you and you know uh basically it's against your will in a way, even though you're not kicking or screaming and fighting. But to me, that's kind of like a sexual assault. To me, I don't want other men frisking
You
me
know
and all
what?
of that stuff. But yeah,
I'm so glad. I'm so glad that you brought up that point because I think when we get into our for a discussion a little further down the line, you will be able to see and relate to some of the things that women complain about, that
right,
we see as sexual assault that most men don't because they're
right,
not thinking about it like they don't receive it how we received it. So glad
right.
you brought that up. Thank you.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
at this point, what we're going to do and I have been a victim of both sexual assault and rape multiple times, and no two times were the same, and it was never by the same person. But by the time I was 18, I had been raped by more men than I had consensually had sex with, and I lost my virginity at 15. So that should say a lot. Um, with that being said, what rape is unconsented sex. Unconsented sex. It doesn't have to be violent, doesn't have to be brutal. You don't have to kick and scream, but if it's unconsented, as in you do not want to have it and you not what you want, and someone insists on forcing themselves upon you, it's still considered rape. Sexual assault is unconsented sexual touching involvement in your personal space that makes you uncomfortable, that is unconsented. Um, and harassment, sexual harassment is like sexual assault on a scale, like a guy
Sorry,
in the club.
I'm losing you
Yeah,
there for a
we
second.
hear you.
Hello? Okay, go ahead.
A guy grabs your ass at the club, that's sexual harassment if you did not want him to do that and he took it upon himself to do it anyway. Um, a guy used to grab your vagina and like, or something like that, that's become a little more, just cross that little line
You
into
cut all the
assault.
way out.
Yeah, I thought it was just me.
Uh,
Yeah, go ahead after this. Hello?
everything over here.
Man, you cut all
Yeah,
the
I
way
hear
out
you guys.
twice. That's why she was talking the first time.
I hear you guys very clearly though.
Go
Okay.
ahead though.
Go ahead. Let's try.
Um, where we're at with that. So now that we've defined rape, what I'm going to do is give several different examples of rape, and we are going to identify when these things became rape and stuff like that. So, oral rape. You can orally rape somebody. There, both ways. You know, you can either a man can either force genitalia into your mouth, or he can force his mouth onto your genitalia, and that is oral rape. I had a situation when I was in high school, shortly after I lost my virginity, who I thought was my friend. Um, we were hanging out where we shouldn't have been hanging out during school hours, when we shouldn't have been in school hours. And he took it as an opportunity to eventually put his knees on my arms, pin me down, force his penis into my mouth while holding my mouth open like that. And I bit that shit as hard as I could until he got the picture that I was serious about not wanting his piece in my mouth. Shit, you know. So that is an example. One example of oral rape. Another example of oral rape is, say you're asleep and you're minding your business, and there's a guy who either you do know with or unfamiliar with, you know, that you're laying with or whatever, or you weren't laying with, and next thing you know, you guys have no previous history or whatever the case, yet his mouth is on your vagina. And if you tell him, no, I'm not interested, he proceeds anyway. Um, that is another way you can be orally raped. Um, Another example of rape, and this is honestly what I think is the most common, is the pressure rape, where no one has to get beat, no one has to get hurt, but you're obligated to have sex with someone that you want to have sex with. And what we're going to do is we're going to explore that a little deeper. And I'm going to ask you guys' commentary after situation. Cool?
Yes.
All right.
Okay. Um, uh, One of the things that is gateway towards pressure rape being like a super thing has to do a lot with the fact that Black women have collectively as a unit, we have self-esteem. A lot of us
Uh-huh.
since childhood have been victim of violence, and due to media influence and our how we're viewed under white supremacy, we feel like we're only for the sexual desires of any man, and sometimes women that looks at us. With that being said, we often don't have the confidence to fully defend ourselves and speak up for ourselves because of, whether it be past experiences. Like last time I tried to stick up for myself when I was being raped, I got accused of, oh, it was my fault, and oh, what were you having on, or whatever it became. It became all about you being the problem. Or last time I tried to stand up for myself for being raped, I got my ass beat, and nobody wants to deal with either of those things. So without that strength, or last time I tried to stand up for myself for being raped, anybody else hear that echo?
That was my bad.
Yeah.
I was just trying to see if it was playing.
Oh, yeah. You got your ass beat. So when times happen in the future and you meet a guy and you guys are hanging out or whatever, and he starts to get a little persistent and aggressive, and but he's being really persistent and a little intense or aggressive. This time you might be more susceptible to, even though you tell him no, you don't want to, his eventually have you crack, not because you just him, but because you are in a subconscious fear or fear of what might happen if you refuse him, whether it be you being beat or whether it be himself being beat, or whether it's he's doing it in a more passive way. And you feel like if you try to talk about it or tell somebody, you will be ultimate situation. And I want to bring up this point, this pressure rate. This is something that's very consistent, that a lot of sisters that I've spoken to have dealt with, getting to have sex with a man who we didn't want to, because we were afraid of the consequences. afraid of what abuse is. That thing you say no the second time, and he's a little more aggressive, and then he just keeps getting more and more aggressive, and you're like, okay, it's either I can potentially be hurt again, worse than what I'm about to be hurt now, or I can just let it pass and just deal with the next nasty feelings internally. You know. With that
You
being
cutting
said, I
out.
want to know.
This,
Can you hear me now?
yeah, but
Uh,
there's still a sound coming from your side. I'll say something. Let me see.
side? Are you sure? Side, because me and you are talking
It ain't
just
my
fine, but
side,
we've
man. I'm talking clear, and I think everything is clear.
okay. Now we hear you clearly. But your picture,
Okay.
Khaled. What are your thoughts on pressure rape?
Um, yeah, I think it's a very real thing. I think that it's it just kind of goes to show how out of touch we might be. Basically, like when you ask me, what do I think? What comes to mind when I think of rape? And it's always like a something that's like kind of upfront, kind of aggressive and like in your face type of thing. And it doesn't pressure rape doesn't come to mind, when you ask that. But it's a real thing, and I understand that it's a real thing, but it's not one of the things that comes to mind. So yeah, I know I know it really, it's really real. I think like it kind of goes along with what I was saying too about being in a situation where you feel like if if I don't comply, you know, shit could get really, really bad, Just like I said, like if you're in a jail situation and these people like, oh, you gotta take off all your clothes and this and that, so that they could search you going into an institution, then it's like you don't want to do that, but you're pretty much pressured into doing it. Otherwise, they're just gonna basically force your clothes off. So in that same line of reasoning, I think that pressure rape could kind of go that way as well, like where you think like where you pretty much understand if I do resist, it's the situation's gonna get worse. So that's my understanding, that it's real, and I understand how people can feel pressured into doing something even without physical force being applied. It might be implied, but it's not applied.
What I want to ask you is, what do you think about the psychology behind a Black woman? I know you haven't been a victim of such, but just your unbiased perspective. What do you think is the psychology behind a sister who has found herself in a position to where she feels obligated to accept the advances of someone whose advances she does not want to accept?
Um, well, my first thought on the question is, before we even get into rape, because rape, like you said, is the matter of a lack of consent. And for me, in the situation with the pressure rape, is the consent, is she not giving it? Does he understand that it's not consensual? Because at the same time, some men have an idea that, oh, she's just being coy, you're playing hard to get, or or like in the movies where some girl is being and she doesn't want it, and then the guy just takes her and kisses her roughly on the mouth, and then suddenly she changes her mind, and now she wants it or something. But do men understand when it's pressure rape and when it's is it something that they understand? Because I know that, yeah, as a woman you can feel, oh, I'm not comfortable in this situation, this is not right, and so on. But do you think, is it a social thing, or is it something like you're in a in a social situation and everybody's doing it, sort of like the teenagers? Or is it that you're with somebody and he doesn't understand that you don't want it?
You know what? I think that's the excellent point you brought up. I'm glad we got to this point because things are flowing and transitioning smoothly. Um, with that being said, I think it comes in two parts, because when I've talked to a lot of brothers, they think, oh well, if you're just persistent enough, even though she's saying no, she'll eventually give in. And they
Right.
think, oh, well, if she gives in, then that's consent. And we're thinking, oh, if we don't give in, this could be our ass. So
Yeah.
I see that as them taking advantage of a sister's low self-esteem and her inability to strongly and to strongly feel confident and capable of standing up for herself. In the beginning, a lot of brothers are out there committing rape, but in their head it's not rape because they got a picture of consent. For example, college, when you were in prison and these officers are like, strip, we got a cavity search or whatever the case may be. Just be comply doesn't mean that you consent. It's not oh, okay, yeah, sure, no problem. It's do I really have a choice? Go ahead,
Um,
Colin.
I think there's a little difference though between what she's saying and what I said, because even in jail, I think it's the prisoners don't want to comply.
Yeah.
It's just that everyone knows that, hey, if you don't comply, this is what's going to happen. Whereas with what she said, a lot of times, and I understand this because I get it. A lot of times brothers have this perception that there's this kind of like game being played, this kind of cat and mouse game where they feel like if I give enough chase, then she'll be with it. Maybe she wants me to chase her a little bit. A lot of times women like being pursued. We do live in a society where women don't approach men, in anything. They don't approach men for relationships, they don't approach men for sex. You feel me? So brothers are always in a pursuing mode. They're always in a seeking mode. So what happens is, it's like, the brothers might not understand where 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 to draw that line in terms of, is she just playing hard to get, like she said, or do I just have to kind of, she wants me to show that, you know that I'm willing to pursue her, or whatever, because a lot of times it does happen where you might be in a situation where the girl's like, oh no, I really don't, and then you guys start kissing, and then it's different, and she gets into it. So it's like, I don't know if and yeah, so I understand where there's a difference there, because it's not understood some all the time that she might not want to at all. And so is she playing a role? Is she just laying there like kind of dead? Like, oh, I'm just gonna lay here. I don't know. But yeah.
My what I want to do is I want to bring clarity, provide some differences in situations. Yes,
Yes.
most sisters do into chase, but this is not always just sexually. Oftentimes, when it comes to women, we prefer our sexual attraction comes from being. I would be more attracted to a man
You
by
come from what? Sorry.
showing things.
I'm sorry, sis. I lost you there for a second. You said to. Hello? Hello?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
I
We can hear
lost
you.
the
Can you hear
last.
me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. I lost you the last part of what you said. You said that sometimes the women want to be pursued, but I lost you there.
Okay. I'll reiter- okay. I'll reiterate that.
Okay.
Basically, what I'm saying is that women do prefer to be pursued, but
Yes.
the pursuit itself and how you pursue is where we can find those lines. Because
I couldn't
pursuing
understand
a
anything
woman,
you said.
Yeah, me neither. The pursuit is what you find what?
I said pursuit is where you find the differences
Mm-hmm.
between the cat and mouse game and woman into a sexual situation she doesn't want. It's how you
Okay.
pursue.
Okay.
You know, you can pursue a woman without having to pursue sex from the woman. Example, if you're interested in a woman and you want a relationship, a way of pursuing her would be calling her consistently, not constantly, consistently, or sending her text messages or making plans, going on dates, treating her to things, getting her gifts. These are ideas of a romantic pursuit.
That's not
Now,
just. That's not what I was
And you're,
saying.
I know, but I'm trying to bring clarity. So I'm going to address what you were saying as well. So if, perfect example, if I'm say I'm talking to this guy or whatever, and things are going however it's going or whatnot, and we're hanging out at his house or whatever, Netflix and chill, Hulu and chill, whatever the case may be, and he starts making sexual advances towards me. Um, if I'm not feeling it, then I'm going to basically ignore those sexual advances, and I expect them to be respected and ignored. However, if me personally, if he was trying to this little cat and mouse game of sexual pursuit, then a cat with the cat and mouse is like they're and you will be able to tell by the reaction of the woman. Like, say he goes and rubbing on my thigh or whatever, and I might, put his hand away, but then I go and I like lay on his chest or something, or like hand on his thigh or something like that. That's more so cat and mouse. Or it's an exchange. It's a back and forth. But if you're doing all the pursuing and she's kind of being stiff and stale and she gets rigid and uncomfortable and she's, or like when you do go for a kiss, she's just like awkward about it. Or when your hand does go up her thigh and she moves it away like two or three times, at this point it's become a molested mouth. And one thing that I had talked to what about before, and this will go into a perfect tip for every brother to know to secure the fact that they're not about to commit rape or pressure rape or anything. When you are pursuing a woman sexually, whether it be or with the physical pursuit, if she says no or if she moves you away or asks for a little space or whatever the case may be, give it to her. Give it to her. If you put your hand toward her vagina and she moves your hand away, leave your hand away. She's interested or she wants to take things a little further, flirt with you or give you some sort of sign. Okay. If a man on my thigh and he's going toward my vagina and I want him to be there, I will leave him there. If I don't want him to be there, or if I'm playing cool or hard if I move and I do want him to try a little harder to pursue me, I might give him a little signal that I want you to try again, but I don't want you to try that way. And that signal might be sleeping on his back. Or like, I might go for like I start kissing on his neck or something. Something to let him know that I do want you to pursue me. I just don't like the way you do it. And a lot of times men will go
You
straight.
said you said what you said. So, sorry, pause. You said you'll tell him you want him to pursue you, but what?
I said I will give him a signal or a sign to let him know that I want him to pursue me, but a different way.
In a different way. Okay. So
Yes. For example, I may not feel comfortable with the man. I just sat down on the couch, even if we're dating or whatever. I just sat down and you're going straight for my vagina. I might not feel comfortable with that. But if we start off like with your arm around me and we start off snuggling and then maybe it turns into a kiss and things go from there, that progression might be a little more comfortable.
okay.
So, so with that, it's like again, if something to let you know that she does not want you in that space that way, then give her that space. If you touch me in a way that I don't quite appreciate or I'm not feeling, and I move your hand away, or I say no, I'm cool, or I say, you know what, I'm not really feeling that right now, then give me that space. That attitude turns stinking stale because again, a lot of black women, as we understand, suffer from low self-esteem,
Well, let me
as a
ask this,
communal role.
from the perspective of a man. I know that, for a woman, the intuition is very strong. Like if you feel either uncomfortable or creeped out or something, you can tell a guy like almost immediately. But as a guy, do you always know when you not when you, but when you're creeping out a girl, or when a girl is not interested, or can you tell?
You talking to me?
Yes.
Man, I don't really think men have that kind of intuition, to be honest with you. I think you have to be a little I think you have to be a little more
What I think a little
What?
we got to get in touch with our feminine side. I'm kidding.
Oh
I
God.
think they start learning it. It's not within.
Yes, but I was
You
saying this. Can a man know, when, is the line between just, I want you to do this, but in a different way?
Right.
Do you think that a man
and that's
should be
why
able
I'm
to know that, or do they? Because I think that for me is the crux of the matter. If you're saying, because the out, rape, the one that we talk about with force and all that, that one is pretty clear. I think in that instance, nobody is confused. This is just, a rapist and his victim. But when it comes to, the social, the consent, all of that, that's when it's a bit subtle. So, we can send, the woman can send a message to the man of consent, like, yes, I want it, no, I don't, or yes, I want it, but in a different way. But do the men get that message, or can they get that message?
I
I'm
think
going to do is
I
I'm
think
going to
oh,
write that, and then I'm going to ask Colin based off of what the both of us said.
I
In
think
my
that it can get
experiences,
oh, my bad.
do you want
Go
to
ahead. Oh,
go first, Colin?
I was just gonna say I think that it can get. Are you gonna speak or do you want me to speak?
go ahead.
I said, go ahead. You got.
Okay, I think that it can get confusing because a lot of times, because what you're getting into is like a trying to pay attention to very minute details that a guy might miss, and I'm just gonna speak like from a guy's point of view, obviously, because I'm a man. I think that let's say, I say, hey, we should get a room or whatever, right? And so if you agreed to get a room, like, we're both grown adults, it kind of goes without saying, like, hey, it's one bed. You didn't say, hey, yeah, we should get a room, but put two beds in the room, right? So then what happens? I know you're laughing, but I'm saying like guys think like this. It's like, okay, without if we're talking about hints, that's a pretty big hint. Like, okay, it's a room with one bed. So it's kind of like, you know, you know we have a setting here, like it's like that we're about to enjoy each other, right? So then what you're saying is if he's not pursuing it in the right way, it's like, hey, move your hand, blah blah blah, but we're already like kind of like in this room, so it's kind of like I don't know, like, I kind of, hey, I thought we pretty much understood, like, hey, we kicking it for the whole night, like me and you, we gonna explore. So then it's like, but I don't like it that way. I want it this way, rub my back first. No, I'm serious. It's kind of like,
My
because a
neck,
guy
my
kind
back,
of,
my. Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. You want to go, sis? I get what you're saying with that, Colin. Now,
so
there's two
what you're
things I
saying
want to.
sounds to me like it sounds to me like you can be feeling a guy, be willing to have sex with him, but if something, if the route towards sex isn't exactly in the way that you have a kind of a planned out way that it should go down, then it's kind of like, okay, well, now at this point, hey, you're rubbing me right here, and I would have rather you started at my neck. So, now I feel kind of like, oh, I'm uncomfortable and I don't want to do it, or you can start off the night saying you don't want to do something, and then you go all the steps towards doing it, or whatever. So it's kind of like, I don't know, sometimes I think with guys, we're not as complicated as women. I think we're really simple. And so what happens is, if things aren't plain and simple, then it can be lost. Like even in relationships, a lot of times, a woman might be feeling a certain way about something I said or did. And if she don't tell me, I don't know that. I don't know why you walk around mad about that. You
If
should
she
have
has
said
to tell
something.
you, that means it's too late, or
If she
something
Okay.
like
has
that.
to, but it,
Okay, guys.
so I don't
I want
You
to
know.
know
bring
your
it
It's
back.
just
tagline.
No, guys, I'm gonna bring it back because I want to touch on there. Um, Understanding that rape is unconsensual sexual relations. I want to also make clear, because a woman can start off consenting, but if at any point there is no longer consent, it becomes rape. Something can start off consensual and become rape.
yeah.
Now,
I
I
see.
know
I agree.
personally, with me personally, I be close. I like to be intimate, but that does not always mean I want to have sex. Me personally, I've grown to a where I can have confidence to say, hey, I don't want to have sex with you, but I do want to cuddle. Or a guy will offer and be like, hey, well, can I do this? And I'll be like, as long as you understand that I don't want it to go any further than that. That is
Right.
clear as day. No
Right.
confusion there. So a
Right.
lot of times, a woman will be clear, and a man will be like, okay, but once I start, she's gonna change her mind. And
Mhm.
sometimes we really don't change our mind. In fact, oftentimes we
Mhm.
don't change our mind. You know.
Mhm.
So, for example, if a guy tell me like, hey, I want to get a room, so we can spend some more intimate time together, and I know I'm not really, I don't want to have sex with him. Me personally, I will let him know like, hey, that sounds like a good idea, but I want to make it clear before you spend it and waste your time that I don't have any interest on having sex with you. I just want to be close to you, maybe cuddle, talk, sip some tea, watch whatever the case may be like that. But I want you to understand that I'm not going to have sex, And if a guy gets the hotel and we go to the hotel and we giggling and cuddling and snuggling and all that other kind of stuff, and he tries to have sex with you, and I let him know that I'm not willing to go that far, and then he persists and insists on trying to take it that far, I'm uncomfortable. I'm not consenting, but you're making me feel uncomfortable. At this point, especially through the past experiences and trauma, you can very much so take advantage of my discomfort. And at some point, that's why we're having this conversation because we need brothers to realize that we need you guys not to prey on our insecurity or not to prey on us, but protect us. And like it or not, I know a lot of brothers who will sense this in a woman, who do notice this in a woman, but they're so worried about their dick that they push all that to the side and say, oh, and they rationalize it in their head. That's why I said in the beginning, a lot of brothers are committing
You breaking up.
rape. That's why I said in the beginning, a lot of brothers are committing rape, but in their head, they're not because they've rationalized what they've begun to do. Because in their head, it's like, oh, well, we done did all this. You want it, you're just playing games. When a woman's been very clear. Yeah, we did all this, but I told you that this is the only things I feel comfortable with. And now I'm in this position that you're taking advantage of. You see what I'm saying? So it's
Yeah.
like, I would love to just be able to say, oh well, we're just leading them on, they don't know any better. But oftentimes, many times women are clear, and we state
Mhm.
our level of comfortability. And then when like for example, like I'll be like, okay, you know what, I'm not really comfortable. I've had this happen as well. This is the case of sexual assault more so, or sexual harassment than rape. But I'll tell a guy, we're feeling each other, we're chopping it up or whatever. We're really close. He might have his arm around me on the couch or his arms around me and we're sitting out front or whatever the case. And things might go cool and then he might go for a kiss. And I'll move. I'll be like, ooh, skirt, hold up. Because me personally, I don't feel comfortable just kissing on any guy. If you go for a kiss and and I kind of skirt it or I curve your kiss, that is not a signal that you can kiss me often. Things will be going smooth and whatnot. We might be flirting, sweet talking, and he'll go for a kiss, and I'll be like, oh, you know what? Nothing personal. I'm just not comfortable with that like right now. And then like 3 minutes into the conversation, next thing just smacked in the face with somebody else's lips. That's just not cool. And to me, experience of with rape and harassment or sexual harassment earlier that if you're force yourself to kiss me, even though I've made it clear that I'm not consenting to have connection with you, then in the wrong position and in the wrong environment, you do other things that I'm not willing to consent to. So it's just listening. Something as clear as day as a woman, your sexual advances is something obvious to let you know these sexual advances. And especially, for example, if I curve your kiss, if I was trying to play cat and mouse, like how we mentioned earlier, and I curved your kiss, then what you need to do is respect that space and we might be able to still be hugged up, but just don't try to kiss me. Now, if I change my mind, I'm like, wait, no, I want you to just try a little harder. Then I might do something like play with your lips, or I might give you a kiss on the cheek or something, or I might, lean in extra close to your face, or I'll do something to let you know, okay, maybe you can try again.
In the same, are you telling me in the same situation where a guy will move in for a kiss and you say no, and then you would come back with a kiss on the cheek in this with the same guy? Like, is that what you're saying?
I'm saying, based off of context, potentially so, yes. And I would
Mm.
know that the guy is open to a kiss because he tried to kiss me. So, okay, I want you just to try a little harder to pursue me by showing him that I noticed your gesture. I'm kind of feeling it. I just, I'm playing this game. However, if I reject his kiss and I don't give him no sign to try again, I don't intend to insinuate or imply that I want you to kiss me, but you just think, oh, but they're so. And I've heard this shit to get on my last goddamn nerve. Okay, kiss me. I'll curve it.
Sorry, I
Oh, you
missed
know
you.
what? Honestly,
You're going in
Yeah,
and out.
I couldn't understand nothing you were saying, but okay.
okay, I'm gonna try this again. A guy will try to kiss me, and he'll be like, "Yo, what's up?" I'm like, "You know what? Nothing personal. I just don't feel comfortable with you, or your diet and lifestyle. I'm not comfortable with being intimately involved with. Or I'll say, I don't want to kiss you. You eat meat, or some shit like that. But the point of the matter is, I make it clear that I do not want to kiss him. And then about a little later into conversation, he'll go anyway. And I'm like, dude, what the fuck? And they'll say some shit like, oh, it's just, I just felt like I had to have them, or oh, you teasing me with them lips, or some shit like that. And it's like, no, nigga, I'm existing at this point. I made it clear to you that I was not interested in that kind of an intimate interaction with you. I made it clear to you that it would make me uncomfortable for whatever reason, and you still took it upon yourself to rationalize in your head that because I look good to you, or because my lips look appealing to you, you're gonna kiss me anyway. That showed a blatant disregard for my comfortability, my personal space, and my feelings. Am I saying there?
In a way, but so first you sort of reject him, and then you give him a different signal. Is that what you're saying, or no? With the one with the chick.
No, I'm saying that rejects your initial advances
Mm-hmm.
ways that the rejection has asked for. And if she towards you, then you know that it's clear to kiss her again. But if she does not make any more advances towards you, that is that space.
Okay. Is that clear to you too?
I think she was talking about two different scenarios. She said that she straight up told the guy she don't want to be kissed, and then he tried to move in for a kiss. I understand that's an assault right there. You know, if you don't want to be kissed by somebody, you don't want to be kissed. That's clear. I think that's clear to
Yeah.
anybody. I just I get what she's saying though in terms of I guess like playing the cat and mouse thing, but um it just could be kind of confusing for dudes because dudes are very simple minded. I don't think we're complicated. I just don't think we're as complicated as women are.
But I think something as simple as your intention in telling somebody that you're not interested in that particular way, I don't think that's complicated. What I think it is that you're horny and you want to do what you want to do, which is why we're going to move into the next topic of conversation, of Black women, and the idea that our bodies don't belong to us. I was attention what happened when Europeans first showed up in Africa. They saw
I
African women
I think
and said,
I understand what you're saying. I think it's not just about being horny. it just kind of sounds more like complete control. You know, somebody had told me something about this girl that they dated, and she wanted to have sex missionary, and she didn't want him to do it in any other position, and she didn't want him to get out of here. Hold on.
He got kids.
And close the door. And she didn't want him to stroke in any kind of like sideways, this way, that way type of thing. She wanted him to like go in and come out, go in and come out, like that kind of thing. And it was like, wow, like that's I wouldn't even agree to have sex like that. I'd be like, you know what, hey, you can find somebody that want to do sex
Was
like
she a
that. But
Mormon, by the way?
no, no, I think she
Oh.
had this thing in her head. It was a black girl. She had this thing in her
Oh.
head where she didn't want her shit beat up. I hate to say that, but that's kind of like, you know, she felt like she felt like
Call it.
her stuff had a shelf life. You know, like if you do too much in there, that things won't be right for the next person or whatever. So that was how, I'm serious. This is how he explained it to me. So it's like, to me, it's just like so much control. Like, let me say this, like, what in that scenario, like, that's like a guy saying this is the only way. Like, I don't know, and I don't want to blur the line between rape and all of that with that. I don't know if it even fits, but it just feels kind of very um like one-sided. You understand what I'm saying or no?
There's two things. I get what you're saying. There's two things I want to say to that. And please let me finish before any interjections. The first thing I want to say about that is, with women, when we're having sex, oftentimes our pleasure is neglected by our male counterpart. They're focused on what feels good to them and not necessarily what feels good to the woman. This particular woman probably feels best, like, and he's probably going to hit her spot appropriately and, make her sexually satisfied if he has sex with her that specific way. Now, with that being said, if he is not going to be sexually satisfied having sex with her in that specific way, not need to have sex. Instead of saying, "Oh, well, you just need to get over it and turn around," you just say, "You know what? That is mature and responsible and non-rape way to handle that situation." For me personally, I've had many experiences where the guy is so caught up on what feels good to him that he starts feeling like, yeah, you're like, okay, you might feel good, but I'm in pain now. And who has to walk around with this pain on their insides when this shit is said and done with? I had to deal with the fact that something that was supposed to be pleasurable, I was supposed to feel safe and comfortable and stuff, did not end up that way for me. I do. You get to bust your nut and move on about your day. I never got my nut, and now I'm feeling uncomfortable and I'm all jacked up.
I got one
Yes.
thing I want to add. I agree with you actually.
Go
I think sex should be pleasurable to both people, and I also think that sometimes people should, like, sometimes I don't feel like doing anything, but I know that's what she wants, and sometimes I do that, because I feel like, hey, I care about her that much. But let me say this. Um, to your point of guys, sometimes guys do it just that feels good to them, and they're not concerned about how it feels to the woman, and which is not a good thing. And I know we were trying to like kind of avoid the context under which we live of white supremacy and all of that. But I think in this instance, it's hard to have this conversation without bringing in porn, right? And how guys who have watched porn are experienced, who are informed by porn a lot of times. This porn that's out, obviously is dominated and controlled by a European mentality or a non-black mentality. I would say that a Neanderthal mentality, and so porn is like nowadays it's like very like hardcore. It's aggressive. It's male centered. It's only towards male pleasure. Has nothing to do with how the woman feels. If you ever watch any porn, in this society, that's generally how it is. And so, and it's actually probably getting worse and worse as time goes on because we're becoming more and more Neanderthalish as time goes on. So, I think that a lot of guys, two things are: one being, selfish, but two, being informed by porn, thinking that that's the way you're supposed to have sex. You know, that it's all about aggression or it's all about whatever. I mean, not that anything's wrong with aggression. Some women like aggressive sex. I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is how porn is like male centered towards only pleasing the man, unless the woman is into that type of thing. But for the most part, there's really not much attention paid to women's pleasure, I think, in this type of porn. And I think a lot of dudes are informed by that. And I think that that could play a role in why guys.
What I want to do is I want to add to that, and I was trying to also get into this point earlier, and we had a different conversation a few days back. Women are getting tired of black men looking at us and treating us in the same way that non-black men are when it comes, especially with hypersexualizing us and the aggressive manner that they see us in and how we're generally treated. And that's why I was trying to bring up, showed up in Africa. They showed up with their culture, black women, and they seen our bodies and they immediately thought, cover up because we can't handle ourselves. And even if you do cover up, we're still going to rape you because we still can't handle ourselves. Then we take it into the transatlantic slave trade and we come into slavery. And these people are literally taught it's a power thing. It's an aggressive thing. It's a control thing. It's a break you down kind of thing. But that also is kind of we learned, especially brothers, sisters, how to put up with this through generations, and brothers learned how to imitate this. We had where black women were only good for reproducing with and fucking on, regardless of how you feel, whether it be son to cousin, dad to daughter, whatever the case may be, slap a bag on it. It's not about pleasure, it's not about intimacy, it's not about connecting. It's just there's just the end product of either A, reproduction, or B, violent and aggressive. And then you adopt that psychology. And I see your point down. Let me get this thought out. Um, as time goes on, and we still see these same interactions between black men and women, a psychology that was picked up and learned from white supremacy. And then we have propaganda like 50 Shades of Grey, which I've never seen, but I've heard enough to know it was some bullshit that I would not be interested in. And we have things out here like porn and stuff and all these things that show that, women are here to be fucked on however, and our pleasure and stuff isn't really something that matters, and our consent and how we feel isn't really something that matters. And then we see how we interact with black men and women. You see a girl that you think is fine in the club, you feel comfortable grabbing on her. Where did you learn that from? Because when we were all naked running around back in Africa, we weren't just grabbing on each other because we couldn't control our impulses or desires. We learned that from on the plantation, seeing a black woman and you felt like you couldn't resist, and you just snatch her up and throw her in your corner. You know, um, so definitely acknowledging the psychology behind these things, understanding the psychology behind how a lot of brothers will sit there and see a black woman and don't see her as an individual person, but as a sexual object of desire. And thus, when they see her, pursue her as a sexual object of desire versus, their other half, their reflection that they want to pursue and have the opportunity to connect with sexually and intimately. Do you want to add a point, Khaled?
I kind of forgot it, but I do agree that well, I do want to say one thing. When you say black men treating us like non-black men treat us, it really makes me uncomfortable because it sounds a lot like uh that
Black men and
argument.
the white men.
Black men are the white men of black society. It's like what the fuck. But I know you personally, so I don't know if you're saying that, but it just sounds a lot like that. But to me, even with that statement, it in a way, what it does is it shows the context under which we learn, the context under which we live, you know. And so, because at the end of the day, you know, we're informed by this dominant society, and it's terrible, and we have to take control over our intake of information and our intake of how we see the world. You know, we have to take control over that, and so that we don't exhibit the behaviors of non-black people, because I think that that behavior is not specific to black people. I think that behavior is who they are. It's how they treat each other. And we've learned that, you know, we've learned that from them. And I think that I feel that we need to get away from that clearly, you know.
You literally just said exactly what I just said.
Well, you broke up the whole time.
Oh, but that's exactly what I said. I went and explained, since they showed up on the continent, how brothers have learned this behavior from our colonizers and oppressors, and then exhibited it towards black women. I even brought up the example about how, over the years in master plantation, we see a black woman, clothed or not, but first, they feel like, oh, I can't control my loins, let me snatch her or in my quarters. And then I translated that to a
Did you
brother
say
seeing a sister.
Lowen?
Huh?
Huh?
Did you say Lowen?
Yes,
Did you say?
yes, I said, always getting on petty shit. Okay, let me get back to the point.
Oh
The
my
point is
God.
that seeing that, learning those actions and behaviors from our colonizers, even back during slavery, we can see the direct reflection in the shit I got to deal with today. I'm over here. I'm in the club trying to, I'm trying to dance, trying to pop my shit. But I'm African. I'm trying to do my thug jizzle, and I'm getting groped and grabbed on and pulled on, and a guy wants to talk to me, so he's gonna be touching on me in places I don't feel comfortable, and I never told me your name. You're already trying to kiss me and shit. That shit is clearly, obviously learned behavior from slavery. And I'm never ever taken away from that. But at some point, we have to get to the responsibility that we understand that all of these negative interactions that black men and women are having towards each other are products of white supremacy. Absolutely.
I
Not
agree.
to say we're about it.
Would you say in the club setting that some women respond positively to that same type of approach?
If you have low, okay, I say that there are cases and circumstances where some might, but I wouldn't call it positively. I cannot default to say positive. That me growing up, being, let me finish, Paula, before you interject.
Okay.
Okay, I know that me growing up, since I was 11 years old, it was clear to me that I was just an object of sexual desire. I grew up off of, not too far from Long Beach Boulevard in Compton, California, and men of all ages and all races were trying to pick me up, prostitute me, all kinds of shit. 11 years old. As I started to go through puberty and develop and whatnot, when I would meet boys and I would talk to them, all they would have to say to me, even though this face is clearly gorgeous, is, "Oh, you got a fat ass. Oh, you got some nice titties." It was always sexual. A lot of black women, especially particularly dark-skinned black women, have to deal with our value only being based in our bodies and our sex appeal. So we feel like the only way we're going to get a man's attention, the only way that we're going to get the time of day, is if we accept sexual attention. So just because a sister might respond, you might grab on her a certain way in the club, and she might sniggle and giggle about it. That's not the response of a sister with healthy self-esteem and a positive self-image when she looks in the mirror. That's the response of a sister who's been conditioned and has caved to the hypersexualization of herself, and she feels like that's the only way you're going to notice her or give her the time of day, and that's the only
Right.
way that she can get attention.
Right.
Go ahead.
Wouldn't you also agree that black males have been also socialized in a way to think that they're sex machines and over sexualized, um, so that they
Good,
think that their
point.
main expression should be through sex. You know, that's the one area where white supremacy has allowed us to express our manhood, whether it's on the basketball court or in some type of sexual manner. Any other way, militarily, intellectually, as scientists, we're not allowed to express black manhood. The only area where we're allowed to express is through sex. If you listen to the hip hop and the young people growing up listening to that music, their understanding of what the role they're supposed to play is I fuck bitches all day. You feel what I'm saying? I excuse my language, but that's the general narrative of, hey, this is the role I'm supposed to play: kill niggas and fuck bitches and get money. And so
You
I
know,
think
I want to say you are absolutely correct. I talk about the hypersexualization of black women as well, but black men have been conditioned to think that your value is only your penis, and brothers, it's not. Half the time, bitches or sisters ain't even concerned about the D. I was having the worst day of my life, and the guy that I was dating at the time was like, "Oh, I'm gonna make you feel better," and he was talking about giving me his penis, and I'm like, "The last thing I'm thinking about is sex right now, bruh." You
right,
know,
right, right,
when under white supremacy, and every other form of power has been stripped away from you. And you think all I got left is this big black D. We got brothers out here preaching the fact that, oh, that's why white men fear us because our penises are big. That's retarded. If that's
right,
all you got left, you're gonna hold on to it with every fiber of your being. It's not just the desexualizing of black women, it's the desexualizing of black men. We have to get to a point where we can see each other as natural peoples, and that's so hard on wanting to be able to be myself and dress how I want and whatnot, and still feel protected and safe and not like everyone's trying to, get me sexually. But also, that means that the brothers around me have to decolonize their mind. They have to do some deconditioning themselves and get to a space where they say, you know what, I have a lot more to offer a woman than just my penis. Is it going to be easy? Absolutely not. We live in a world of white supremacy where they make it very, very difficult for a brother to be anywhere to have anything to show his value besides just his penis. But that doesn't mean that you're just gonna cave. What? Because it's not easy, you're not gonna try. That's the bullshit. We are Africans, okay? Shit been easy for us since Europeans showed up in Africa. That doesn't mean give up. That doesn't mean stop trying. That doesn't mean just say, okay, well, let me just lick my wounds and accept shit as the way it is. Absolutely not. So black men and black women have a responsibility to show each other and to respect each other as more than just sexual animals. What that means is when a black woman is in her natural space, then black men have to show that we're protectors and providers. And instead of preying on us, you have to protect us. So when you see a sister in the club and she's doing her thing or whatever, maybe she's with her girlfriends, instead of going to grab her on the ass, how about you tap her on the shoulder and excuse me, sis? Or say a sister gets grabbed on the ass by somebody else. This has happened to me before as well. I went out with a bunch of black men, black excellence, black men, all in college and getting degrees, and some of them had graduated or whatever, Divine Nine Brothers and all that shit. And we went out to this very precious club, and I wasn't even in the club 10 minutes before this white man grabbed my ass. I was livid. And when I told the brothers about it, instead of them defending me and protecting me, they told me to that I'm overreacting just to deal with it. You're in a club, shit like that's gonna happen, etc. Mind you, we know the fact that if it was the other way around, if a white girl had got grabbed on her ass by a black man who she didn't want to be touched by, and she wanted to pull some white boy, it would have been a whole bar fight. So that would have been a perfect opportunity for those brothers to show that you guys aren't here just for show. You actually care about love, protect, and protect black women. You see what I'm saying? But
yes.
oftentimes it's out of fear, and that's the thing. Is like you can't be scared, brothers. Real brothers out there, you cannot be scared. When a black woman comes to you and says, "I've been assaulted, I've been raped, I've been touched uncomfortably, etc., etc." When you sit there, and this is going to move us on to our next point on how to respond to a sister when she comes to you expressing her assault, her rape, her discomfort, etc. The first thing that you do not want to do is victim blame or gaslight. Go ahead, Colin.
I'm gonna say this. Let's definitely do this segment because I think this is the most important part because it goes more towards solution and react and how we should properly react.
Mhm.
I just want to say let's look at the time and keep in mind. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, oh, okay. Oh, I thought you were gonna like say something to the point.
I
Now,
know, me too.
when it comes to solutions, okay, these solutions are not going to be easy because it requires brothers to actually take responsibility, stand up, and step up. And not every man is ready to do that at this point in time. But you got to. If you're going to get anywhere as a people, you got to. Malcolm X said that the black woman is the most disrespected woman in the world, and he was absolutely correct. Still to this day, black men of every race, gender, whatever they feel comfortable disrespecting the black woman, whether it be physically, whether it be sexually, whatever the case. Okay, and that is because black men as a collective
I lost you
that
there.
black women are one
I lost you there for a bit.
oh, okay. I was saying, Malcolm X said that black women are the least disrespected women in the world, and that's
Yes.
still true to. And I think that is because we have lost, black men have not collectively decided to protect us like they used to during the times of the deacon's defense. And oftentimes that also goes to the fact that we're not taught this history about ourselves either. We're not taught the fact that the reason why the men stopped raping and pillaging the way they were so violently and aggressively is black men got together and decided to protect black women. Not just marching around with empty guns in the
I
streets.
don't know if it's just me. Go ahead.
Yeah. So with that being said, the solutions to these things is I'm gonna give you guys a couple of ways, especially brothers watching this, but sisters as well, tell your brothers. Tell this to your uncles, your guy friends, your brothers, whoever the case, so that they know this as well. And if they try to fight you on this, be wary of them because they might be consenting to rape culture because they might be doing rapey shit themselves. Now, with that being said, the first thing is if a sister comes to you and expresses to you her discomfort in a sexual situation, whether she was touched uncomfortably, whether she was assaulted, whether she was raped, do not gaslight her. Gaslighting is when you try to convince someone they're tripping when they know for a fact they're not. Do not tell this sister that it is her fault. Don't tell her that she might have interpreted wrong, that she was tripping, because 9 times out of 10, she is not. The second response is, for example, unwanted touching. If you're a sister and you're in the club and whatnot, and a brother is around and someone touches you in a way you don't like, and you, as that brother watching this, it is then officially your responsibility to do something about it. And I mean, you got to press somebody. You got to press. You got to press. We have to feel comfortable pressing people because they have no problem pressing us. And you got to get tired of being punked all the time and being, you know, somebody's bitch all the time. It's got to get old. Just like women are tired of being assaulted all the time. Another thing, there's got to be a level of accountability. If you know your homeboys are out there raping their women, assaulting women, beating black women, all that kind of stuff, then they should not be your homeboys. Bare minimum. Next things next, they need to add a shit about how we don't trust the prison industrial complex and they shouldn't judge us, et cetera, et cetera. But that also means that we have an obligation and responsibility as to hold each other accountable. So you don't want to put your pedophile uncle in jail. Well, every other uncle and brother and whatnot should either have his ass in the grave somewhere or have his completely packed out and vanished. This nigga should not be chilling at the cookout. He shouldn't feel comfortable coming over.
Absolutely.
None of that shit. Okay. You have a boyfriend who you thought things were going great, and he decides to rape you. And maybe he didn't. Maybe he pressure raped you. Maybe he did not violently rape you. I say, give him one conversation. Look, I don't feel comfortable with that. That made me incredibly uncomfortable. I'm not happy with that. You did rape me in that situation, and it needs to never happen again. He tried that shit again. You tell every uncle, cousin, brother, homeboy, whatever case you got, and his ass needs to be packed out and banished. Don't let him sit there and tell you, oh, you just tripping, or oh, loosen up, or oh, you're being a prude, or whatever the case. Don't let him gaslight you into accepting rape. You stand ground, you hold fast, and you get the men around you to help you hold this man accountable. Okay? And those are just some basic ways. And also, brothers, to avoid a sexually assaulting, harassing, or raping a sister. If you see a sister and she's looking good, that ass looking fat or whatever, do not go over there and proceed to just grab her because you feel like it. Especially if she's giving you no kind of implication or signal that she would be comfortable with that kind of encounter. You think about it and you keep that shit to yourself and keep it pushing unless she gives you a clear and obvious signal that she wants that kind of advance for you. I'm in the club, I see a guy I like or whatever, or I see a guy I'm attracted to and whatnot, and I want him to notice me. I walk by him like 3 or 4 times, make some eye contact. I might brush my booty up against him or something if that's what I want. Then he'll know, okay, maybe I can pursue. But if you see me and I don't even notice you're standing there, or I do, but I'm ignoring your life, do not come up and touch me. That's the last thing you want to do. Because I'm to the point in my life where I'm about to start smacking the shit out of niggas. And I wasn't for the longest because I'm like, I'll just be that dark skinned, bitter, angry, ghetto black girl going around wilding and shit. But I'm tired of being assaulted. I'm tired of being violated by the man who should be protecting me. And I'm not the only one. So unless y'all want to start getting smacked the fuck up, back the fuck up and respect privacy and space unless given a clear invitation. Even if you have to ask. If you feel bold enough, ask. You know what, sis? I'm not even gonna lie. I seen you. I'm noticing this, that, and the third with this body blue, and it's calling me right now. And if she like, politely smiles and says, "Oh, okay," and keeps it pushing, leave her alone. But if she's like, "Oh, what? Oh, really?" Just a little kind of wiggle it a bit. That's a different story. If you're girl, y'all Netflix and chilling and whatnot, you all cuddled up. She might even feel comfortable in her body. You guys might be naked. Just because your dick is hard doesn't mean you about to fuck. If you make a sexual advance and she stops you or moves you away, give her that space. And don't throw an attitude about it either. Don't throw a tantrum about it either, because oftentimes when you throw your little tantrums or you start pouting, a woman goes into her insecure phase and her low self-esteem phase. And Black women as a collective have had a habit of putting everybody else's feelings and cares and emotions above our own. Black women are the group of women, the group of people known to cater for everybody but themselves despite their own self-best interests. Okay? We
I
cape
agree.
for
I agree.
It's gotta stop. It's gotta stop because we keep getting hurt and ain't nobody here to cape for us. Okay? So we gotta start caping for ourselves.
I want to just, I'm sorry, this is really off, kind of off topic. But I've actually been saying what you just said for the past couple of years, because I feel like black women are like a microcosm of black people. And what I mean by that is, which is completely opposite to saying black men are the white men of society. No, but what I mean by that is black people as a whole. If you look at black women's behavior in that regard of what you're saying, that's how black people behave. We cape for every motherfucking body else but ourselves. We out here fighting for immigrants' rights. Them immigrants don't give a damn about us. We the most abused people on the face of this planet, and yet here we are, acting like we stuck on stupid. And so, in that same regard, I do see that black women behave the same way, even towards black people. I see that you got people like Bill Cosby who they threw him under the bus, and you got all these black women caping for this dude, like, bro, like, he don't care about your black ass. You feel what I'm saying? Like, why are you caping for people who don't care about you? And I totally agree. Even when it comes to black people, I feel like black women should not care about anybody who doesn't care about them, even if it means certain black men. You feel what I'm saying? Because for the most part, it's like, if you dealing with a whole bunch of hip hoppers and Lil Wayne type people who talk about pimping and hoeing, or even behave in that manner, they're not good for you. If you got a dude who is abusing you, he's not good for you. Period. Regardless, just because he black don't make him good. You get what I'm saying? And I think that
Exactly.
I agree.
College,
I totally agree.
college,
Huh?
you're gonna hate this, but you know who you
Oh,
sound like.
I
Well,
I'll add this
well, don't
too.
say that shit. Don't say that
Who?
shit. Look, no,
She
I've been saying it before
literally
Chrissy.
said
Before
something.
Chrissy got. I said
I'm
this.
sure you have, but she's literally
Look,
been saying this thing. Black women shouldn't
look.
cape for
I said this with the Martin Luther King debate, my original Martin Luther King debate. because he got a holiday. Black women celebrating him, and his motherfucking first love was a white woman, and he agreed that black women should get beat, kicked, stomped, water hose, dog bitten on her titties, and all of that. He didn't care about none of that shit. But you love this man for what? You feel me? So I've been saying this for years. I mean, she just
I know
hit
you.
the scene,
I know
so
you
don't say
have.
I sound like her.
I'm just saying that y'all, you guys say the same thing in that regard. Go ahead, sis. You were gonna say something. You want to add to that?
Yeah, I was going to say this that okay, we know the part about the white supremacy and what that effect has on us, but at the same time, my plea is for the good, the good black men. I always say this that they are the only ones who really can protect, black women, both from the white men and from other black men. They're the worst thing, like when you see those lion documentaries, the lionesses are, the queen of the jungle, so to speak. Nobody can really mess with them, but other marauding males. It's usually, some, teenage lion just roaming about and so on. And so the big lion has to protect his herd. So I think that, we can't say, oh, black men are the white men of the people, obviously, because if they are, there's nobody else to go to, for protection. But I think that, men have more influence on each other than we could, because we can tell them, don't do this, and so on. But I think that men, whatever in the spaces that they are, in their talking locker room or whatever, they have to sort of have an ideal of the kind of man that they want them to be shown us, and, to see that kind of action in other men, because most of the time I feel that men sort of co-sign on each other's nonsense. Like if you see a guy even with a white girl or with somebody else or whatever, they're just like, oh yeah, or they'll turn around. So a woman can't say anything, she's going to be considered jealous, but another man say, hey man, or don't have to say anything, just don't encourage those sorts of people. Don't look on the guy doing all that stuff as some kind of hero or something
Yoshi,
like that. Yeah, so
I,
go
I
ahead.
got I got
Comment.
I
One
gotta go right
last.
on top of that. Because she made an excellent point about the good brothers, who are the ones
Exactly.
that, at the end of the day, you guys have to rely on. I think one good point that I want to add to is it's not just that men will listen to other men, but it's also that men can apply force to other men. You feel what I'm
yep,
saying?
yep,
Because
that
at,
too.
at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, sisters could feel very strongly about something, but we all know we not built the same. You know what I mean? You really can't
Yeah.
apply the same kind of force that a man could apply. So
Mm-hmm.
the good brothers have a responsibility to apply that force. You feel me? And the sisters should be there to back that brother up, or you know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean, in
I
that
agree.
regard. So
Yeah.
also, we might have brothers who have friends who we know are abusive. You feel what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? And it's
Mm-hmm.
our
Yeah.
responsibility to let them know, like, hey, bro, that shit ain't cool. That's not how. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
excuse my language. I don't know why I'm cussing like this, but if
Love
that ain't cool,
that.
that's
Love that.
look
That ain't cool. Ain't enough. You ask
right.
me
No,
something you can't handle. Okay, go
can you
ahead.
let me? Can you let me follow up with?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I open the conversation with force. You know, I'm leading into it. I start with the words, right, and
Okay.
then
Okay.
and then and whatever's refused by the word, then that's what the fist is for. So yeah, definitely. I that's that you pretty much said exactly what I what how what I the thought that I was trying to get across.
Okay.
And accountability and holding each other accountable in the black community is something that I have been taught. Sorry, it's not a pen. Something I've been talking about for the longest. It's so important. It's so important to really realizing that the first things first is seeing the value in each other. Black men and women seeing the value in each other as something worth protecting and standing up for and doing right by. That's why I always say you have to know yourself so that you can love yourself, so that you can love your people. You can't love what you don't know. And if we knew ourselves for who we really are, then we would see each other for the value that we have and the love that we're worthy of and the protection that we're worthy of. A lot of black people, we don't think that we're worthy of love and respect and protection. That's why we're out here hands up, don't shoot. That's why we're out here jumping in front of bullets for everybody else but each other. That's why we're out here doing
Absolutely.
all kinds that we should not be doing because we don't even see ourselves as people who have a value outside of being the sacrificial lamb to the world.
Yep.
Right.
Right.
That's why it's so important that and we see the effects that this has on each other. It comes to the point where we have black women who will sit there and be completely abused or assaulted or raped, and in their head they'll buy into the fact that it's their fault because of their lack of self-esteem, self-love, and self-worth. And we have a brother with self-worth, does not see his reflection as something not worthy of the way he's treating it. So in his head, he rationalizes it as it's okay. She rationalizes it as it's her fault. And then the dysfunction continues, but we've
Right.
got to get to the point where we work on the way we see ourselves. Our psychological perception is incredibly important. And that goes from, and I talk to different sisters all the time who are struggling with this whole Stockholm syndrome. Brothers have Stockholm syndrome from my experience. They have Stockholm syndrome for non-black men and non-black women. Sisters have Stockholm syndrome for every type of abuse. Men, black, white, Chinese, Puerto Rican, Asian, it don't matter. Okay.
Yeah.
But the point is this whole slave mentality of feeling more emotional, like being more concerned about the feelings of your oppressor and your captor and your abuser and yourself. It's beyond just unhealthy, But what I'm saying to the brothers out here, we might have brothers who watch this who are like, you know what? I know y'all don't want me to use this word, but it just fits so well. I may have, been rapey towards a woman, or I may have raped a woman and not realized it, or I did, but I rationalized it or whatever. Now is a good time for an apology if you're not already thinking that, okay? And then secondly, if you come across another black woman, say the woman that you pressure raped or passive or raped in a non-violent and aggressive way, say she never spoke up about it or you never been persecuted about it, then you kind of have a window for redemption just because you ain't been found out yet, but don't expect to not be dealt with accordingly if you ever are. Okay? But with that being said, take this as an opportunity. Don't be a predator, be a protector. If you come across a black woman and she's showing signs of discomfort, but you can also tell that she's got low self-esteem and that, if you push hard enough, she might give in, not because she wants to, but because she feels obligated to, don't prey on that. Take that as an opportunity to protect her and to build her up and help her build up her confidence and self-esteem. As black men and women, when we come together, we should be making each other better, not preying on the things that are bad about us and helping to make things worse. If I have a man who sees that I struggle with self-esteem and positive self-image and identity, he should take that as an opportunity to keep me down and keep my self-esteem low so that he can maintain manipulation and control over me. He should see it as an opportunity to be like, you know what? Let me show you how I see you so that you can see yourself for who you truly are, and let's grow and grow from there, you
Hmm.
know?
Let me just add one thing before I forget to.
Yeah,
In the way that we treat each other, we shouldn't just limit this, to relationships and just that. Because at the same time, we have a lot of different influences, from the opposite sex. It could be friends, brothers, families, and all that. So, like I was saying with the good brothers, it's not just, oh, you just show, deference and protect your woman. It's supposed to be protecting, those around you. It could be, being an influence to your nieces and, your the kids around you, all that, because they also need to see that positive influence. So when they do go out and they encounter some sort of things, they're not always being told you're pretty because it's a sexual thing, but sometimes you're pretty just because you're pretty, just because you look nice. So they're not going to associate, every form of male attention with
Damn.
sexuality. Yeah, they're supposed to
Yeah.
just know, and they're supposed to be
exactly.
protected no matter, by everybody. So yeah.
Absolutely.
You know what? And the last little quick note I want to add is we talk all the time about police brutality and how, like, oh, there's good cops. And then we say, well, where are the good cops when the bad cops are fucking up? It's the
Yep.
same thing when it's good black men. Oh, because black men will love to hop in the comments or hop on the line or whatever, talking about, oh, y'all ignoring the good black men out here. Where the fuck are y'all when I'm being raped? Where are you guys when I'm being assaulted and I do try to tell somebody and I get gas out of this stuff? You guys have to, the good black men out there, you got to make your presence known because these
Right.
fuck boys,
Absolutely.
predators, they are out there clear as day with their flags
Right.
waving and they fuck boy t-shirts.
It's just I
Y'all
just want
gotta
to add.
stop.
I want to add that brothers. I agree with you. I just want to add though that brothers who respond or are willing to respond need community support, because what
Yes.
happens is, and this same thing happens, like if we're gonna respond to police brutality, what happens is the brother will go out there and do what he has to do or be willing to do what he has to do, for his people, and then the people won't support him. You feel me? When he got to go on the run, or when he got to, you understand what I'm saying? Because shit's really real. We're not talking about no play shit. You feel what I'm saying? Regardless of if you responding to white power or if you're responding to black fuckery. You feel what I'm saying? It's
Mhm.
things
You know,
will get real. And he has to have a support system. You feel me? Otherwise,
Yes.
you lose a whole warrior, over a battle instead of a war.
and you know what, Khalid? You are absolutely, I completely support that 300,000,000%. And I think this is also why it's so important that we get to a point where we start grabbing. I don't care if it's your niece, your nephew, your neighbor's kids, or whatever, but we have to start, especially with these youth 18 and under. I say 25 and under, snatching them up and informing them about the history of us that has been hidden. Because in our heads, all we've ever been taught is that we get on our knees and die. That's all we've ever been taught, and that we never go against the system. We don't get taught about the how the Black Liberation Army was able to do what they was doing for so long because of the community support, and how they was able to hide in plain sight because the community had their backs. We don't get taught about the deacons of defense and how Black women stood behind them and didn't jump in front of the gun when they pointed it at the men who tried to rape them or did rape
Yeah,
them. We don't
yeah.
talk about the Gullah Wars and all the other slave plantation revolts where niggas wasn't taking this shit and we completely fucked, decapitated in the bed, you name it. And since we don't know about this history and all we know about is us being passive to our own genocide, we don't ever think that we're supposed to or can or have the potential to do anything different. We think this shit is normal now. The
Right.
psychology that has propaganda, the psychological change that have been placed in our brains it's been done so well to the point where kids see Kanye when he says that that shit was a choice. And to an extent, I can see the logic behind it, but yeah, and a lot of our ancestors chose not to be slaves, which is why they had Lincoln was such a good guy. He had slaves and slave children. This nigga over here fucking on 5 different black women, having all these different mulatto kids and shit, and they kids still his slave. You know,
Mhm.
he literally said, just a minute, this is beside the point, but Lincoln literally said that if I could keep the slave and preserve the union, I would.
If I could do what?
If he could keep the slave and preserve the union, he would. But
Oh,
because,
okay. Yeah.
yeah. Let
Yeah.
me add something though. I think that another thing we're not being taught, obviously, is that we have a duty to correct or punish those within our community as well as outside of our community. So,
Yep.
I had this conversation with a relative of mine about R. Kelly. And R. Kelly's not known for his crimes against white women or non-black women. He's known for his crimes against little black girls and black women, right? That's what he's
And
known for. But yet
Yeah.
I want to ask
he's
Colin interjecting that if he was known for having crimes against non-black women, then he would have been locked up, just like Bill Cosby's
I
ass.
know. I get that. I get that. My point though is because what my relative was saying is, well, R. Kelly hasn't been arrested. He hasn't been convicted. And my thing is, it doesn't matter. We are our own jury, judge, and executioner. I don't care what the white man has convicted and has arrested and decided is a crime or isn't a crime. Tomorrow he could legalize pedophilia. Then what? Doesn't matter. You feel what I'm saying? We have our own standards. You feel what I'm saying? And so we also should have our own method of punishment, and way of determining guilt instead of waiting for them to determine
Was
guilt,
that
because
person
that's
actually arguing for his innocence?
he was arguing for why should we do anything if he hasn't been proven guilty. But my thing is, if the black community knows he's guilty, that's all that matters. It doesn't matter what the white community says.
But
So
everybody knows that already. That's not even up to debate. I
I
haven't seen it, but I know everybody knows. And even if you haven't seen it, those rumors of Ali and all that, we all know it's not a
right,
matter
right,
of
right, absolutely,
ignorance.
right. But we all know. But since Papa White Daddy has not said guilty, then he ain't guilty. You understand what I'm
And you know
saying?
what?
That's how people think. That's that
And I want to.
paternalistic racism. But I have to make one last point because I'm getting short on my time. But because this is
Okay.
why I originally raised my hand. At the end of the day, no matter what we're talking about, it always comes back to this with me. I always say that we have to focus on the babies, the children, whether we're talking about racism, white supremacy, whether we're talking about colorism within the black community, whether we're talking about rape culture and how these, how we're being shaped by our reality. I mean, by the society we live in. At the end of the day, we have to focus on the babies because it's the young black boys who ain't getting this conversation, and he's gonna go out and not know, hey, when I make a move on a girl, I should back up a little bit to see if whether or not, she wants to go forward and then take that cue from there. Like these brothers and these young boys and young girls have to be told by people like us, because what's going to end up happening is we as adults are going to have this conversation, and some of us might learn, some of us might not, but the kids, they're the ones that are the future, and they're going to be the ones that are either going to suffer or benefit from what we know. And if we don't say
Yes.
nothing to them, then it is what it is. So we got to focus on the babies, man. I feel like it's really important that little black boys should understand the boundaries, and understand how to properly respect black women, And so there has to be, I mean, that has to be our main focus. You know what I mean? I
That's
mean, I think as a
why
secondary focus should be the adults,
Absolutely.
but primarily it should be the children.
Yes. I
that's why
agree.
you
Yep.
grab your neighbor, your niece, your nephew, somebody. If you got this information, you grab as many little black kids as you can.
Absolutely.
And that's why I do what I do. And that's why we do what we do. We know what's
Yep.
up.
Yep.
Just I want to add a little R. Kelly shit real quick. I really hate this shit so much before because as a victim of pedophilia, as a victim of rape and sexual assault and abuse and all that kind of stuff, whenever I hear that shit on, all I think about is this victim. I don't even want to hear. I didn't know that shit when I was a kid jamming to remix and stuff, but now that I know, I'll tell people, I'm like, you can't play that shit around me. And I've had black men
Absolutely.
with, I've had brothers with daughters tell me, oh, it's just his song. I don't support him, but I support his music. I'm like, you can that's supporting
I gotta say this.
him.
And hey, let me say this. And my relative's defense, that was the beginning of the conversation. By the end of the conversation, he said no more R. Kelly. He not listening to none of his music. He not supporting none of that, because I
That's
got
good.
him to see the reality is you can't separate him from his music. I mean, it's like some crimes are unforgivable. You've gone beyond the point of, well, maybe this guy can be redeemed. Like he's beyond that. You feel me? You
Ain't no
know,
song that or that smooth to where you can't cut that shit off out of honor and respect for the victims
it's
of this
right.
self respect.
I'm just right. I had to explain to him how serious the matter should be. Let me put it to you this way, because R. Kelly is a genius, and you could be a genius. Shoot, the devil is a genius. You feel what I'm saying? Europeans got geniuses. So at the end of the day, that doesn't matter if his music is really really good. Because let's put it this way: if there was a guy that killed your mama, but he makes hit records, are you still gonna listen to his music? No, because it means that much to you, right? It means that, and that's how. That's the serious, huh?
How are you gonna feel about every person who plays your mama's murderer's music around you?
Right. And that's what I'm saying. So, when you put it in that context, because that's the thing, you have to put the serious on it. I think a lot of people, well, a lot of, people, they want to just feel good and, oh, make excuses. But nah, this is one of those things that should be serious. When it comes to our women and children, that should be like top level serious. It's like, go ahead.
I think
And I'll add
passiveness.
this, and I'll just, I have to go. No?
I think a lot of
Hello?
that passiveness comes from the fact we hear you, sisters. Give me 1 second. I think it
Okay.
comes from the fact that a lot of black women, particularly and brothers, have either committed or been victims of sexual violence or assault or whatever. And holding R. Kelly responsible means that you got to hold your cousin responsible. It means that you got to
Mhm.
hold that homeboy responsible, that neighbor responsible, that stepfather, that father, that uncle, that whoever. And people aren't ready to take responsibility for that. So they're like, okay, if I don't give R. Kelly a pass, then I can't give these guys a pass, and I'm not ready to deal with it. But
Mhm.
we can't let that be our excuse. We got to start dealing with shit. Go
Yep.
ahead, sis.
And just I think people don't see the seriousness of it, or they don't want to see it because, unlike other forms of crime, it's not something that's written on the face. It's not something that, you can see, oh, this person, this happened to them, obviously that's why they're suffering. It's something like a hidden thing that if nobody talks about it, people could just be walking around, with trauma, inside them, or people could just be walking around with this, psychosis, just, raping them, and you don't even know. So we have to talk about this thing as uncomfortable as it is, because we don't see the harm that it's doing, to a lot of women. Even these, kids who are, his victims, you don't see them now. You see them as old, they're older women. I think most of them are in their 30s or something. But you don't know what they've gone through, how that affected their lives. It's just, oh, it happened. So I don't think people really understand how difficult this really is.
What I want to
Yeah.
do, sis, and that was my point. What I want to do is kind of close this out. Um,
Yes.
Basically, next time we hop on here, hopefully it'll be next Tuesday as scheduled. Next week we're going to talk about how sisters can be coons too, because the brothers is out here getting the but sisters, we are doing some damage with our level of cooner comes from our Stockholm syndrome, and that will be next week's conversation. All right. I
Okay.
really want to thank Ciano for coming out here and joining me on this conversation. Couldn't make it. We're gonna try and work that out for next time. But ultimately, if you watch this video through and through and you have not figured out that either A, you may have exhibited perpetuated rape culture, and or B, been passive to rape culture, haven't figured out ways to do better and to make a difference and a change to positively affect Black women and Black men in our relationships with each other, then you literally have to watch this whole video on mute. Okay? Or you need your ass beat anyway. With that being said, um, Colin, do you want to add any closing statements before we cut out this live?
Hey, somehow I can't even get back into. I can't see y'all. I don't know if y'all can see me, but
Can't see
I
you,
just
but
want to say, black, huh? Okay,
we can
cool.
hear you.
I just All right, for sure. I just wanted to be, I just wanted to, I think that what we need to be able to do is hear our sisters when they speak about these type of issues with an open mind, open heart, and open ears, because
Yes.
again, we living and swimming in a sea of insanity, and a lot of the things that we think is normal, or we think that it's normal and we think that it should be normal. A lot of the things that we might do, or man, it's a lot that we could have talked about. House parties where women get drunk and they drink them. They put a lot of alcohol in them to take advantage of them. That's another form of
Yeah.
it.
Oh, that was.
But
I have it
anyways,
written down. But I forgot to touch on it. Damn.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Next time.
I was just saying it's just a lot of things that we think is normal, and even in college culture like that, where they do that.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's not,
Mm-hmm.
it's not good and it's not normal for us. So I think that we need to, have an open mind, an open heart, and open ears to our people whenever, there's new information. Even if it rubs you the wrong way or makes you feel guilty, you got to correct those things about yourself, correct those things about the others around you, and it's a struggle, to rebuild ourselves into who we need to be, because at the end of the day, again, we're swimming in a sea of insanity. We're bound to get wet. So a lot of things we might talk about in the past or in the future right now might pertain to you personally, and if you love your people enough, you should be willing to correct it.
Yes.
And Chris, you want to add any closing statements?
No, Matt said
Thoughts?
it. No, he said it. I agree. We have to take responsibility for each other and for ourselves, or for each other. Yes.
Absolutely. I wish I thought to go back and stick to specifically every point that I had on here, because I did want to talk about, you know, um, the kind of rape that happens once I was raped in college, minding my own business, went to sleep, blacked out in my own bed, fully clothed, woke up with a man who said he didn't even like Black women doing things to me, and I didn't know. I passed out when I went to sleep by myself, and I woke up in my own bedroom, not how I went to sleep. So, if a woman cannot consent, if she can't talk, if she's unresponsive, if she's blacked out, passed out, or drunk, leave her the fuck alone. Your biggest obligation at most is to make sure that she's in bed safe and sound, and you did. Okay, don't take advantage of a sister in a situation. Intentionally do it. Brothers used to do that shit to me all the time when I was a teenager. Oh, let me get her high. And that's why I didn't start smoking until I turned 21, because they would try to always give me weed and alcohol, so they can get me in a position where I would be more susceptible to actions that I would not normally condone, or I would be less able to defend myself because I'm not all the way there against actions I would not normally condone. So if a woman cannot consent, if she's physically and vocally and mentally incapable of consenting, leave her alone. Just leave her alone. If a woman says that she doesn't want to go further than a certain point, respect that space. If you are having sex with a woman and she has started off consenting, and then you start doing things that makes her like, I want to stop, stop, back up, give her the space, and then if you must, open the conversation to see what would make her comfortable, and then proceed from there. Okay, but all this shit's got to stop. Because if we start chopping off dicks and shit, we just gonna be crazy black women. And because we not Puerto Rican, it's not cute. But you know, the pot is boiling. The pot is
I
boiling,
agree. Do your
and
thing.
we
Gotta
still
be. Hey, look, it gotta be dire consequences, anyways. You know, for shit that people
Yeah.
do. You
Yeah,
know.
no, I'm not
Yeah.
laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because it's serious and that should
Oh
be the
no,
case.
no.
Especially
I'm.
you, well,
Yeah,
for
I'm
me it's
listening.
this way.
Hey.
If I rule the world, all pedos would die and all rapists would be castrated. But that's just me.
Hey. Um. I'm short on time. I gotta go.
Yeah,
yeah,
me
we
too,
all
me
that's
too.
all we doing. Yeah, me too,
All right,
y'all.
y'all.
Appreciate y'all. Thank you and
All
peace. I'm gonna
right.
send y'all the link so y'all can.
All
All
right.
right.
Peace.
Peace. Good talking to both of you.